Okay, guys, we're now set up. I've got it to the right spot. I've got them all loaded with the VODs. Okay, so we've got the run through of today and music on in the background, just so it's still there and we're not like just move my voice. So, first game of the day was Demise versus Enclave, and we see Olaf, typical red side ban. Akali used to be a typical red side ban because of the flex potential here. And then they banned Gragas. I'm not too sure about the Gragas ban, personally. Especially when this is available. I also don't really understand. I assume Demise do not play Talia. I'm assuming they don't play the Seraphine, so they're banning it specifically so that they can't do this. And then you get rid of Gallia or Camille on this blue side, so they can't do the Galio, like super easy setup for it. So they leave Pantheon open because they decided to ban Gragas instead. Okay. Farming option, can fight when Hecarim starts getting like to 6 and beyond. He has a great time. He's got great engage. He just farms up politely, and he's really fucking tanky. Can't get executed. Fine. Kai'Sa blind. Yep, makes sense. Ophelios Thresh here would probably be like kind of nutty. That is the opposite of what you want to do. Okay, so this is probably something happening inside the draft where like, oh shit, Ivan is left open and as well. Should we take it? And in this instance, it's a no from me. Because now, you've got Pantheon, which is either going mid or top. But Pantheon wants you to come towards her. This rotation here kills the Demise draft instantly. Because Samira wants you to, like, it's one of the snowballest ADs in the game right now. So, like, you want to come bot lane and fight over bot lane. Now, if this goes mid, then the jungler has to go to mid instead, and the setups are kind of wasted, right? The first couple ganks is where you want to get Samira on the board and getting ahead, sorry. So then they just answer with Galio. Kai'Sa Galio is, like, fair. Like, Galio Hecarim combo is fairly horrible to deal with. Makes sense. We see a Thresh ban. Thresh Samira able to take early lane dominance. Alistar ban probably not required, but it's a good 2v2 lane, so it makes sense. Aatrox banned away. I'm guessing this is a signal that Pantheon is going top, so they're trying to get rid of options that would be good into it. Okay, so Enclave do the right thing. They just pick something that's safe in mid, can wave clear, stall the game. Really smart. In this sense, like, that way they can see where Pantheon goes, and Victor is fine into Pantheon as well. And then we see Echo and Rel? Okay, Samira Rel is a good lane, but okay, this is the sense, right? Play towards us, play towards like a strong 2v2. But then we have Pantheon now top lane that wants you to come and fuck top. So you've got too many strong sides, and also there's no like who engages on this team. It's got to be Echo W or Panth W plus R, or this guy throwing a Q. There's no like real direct engage. So you've drafted a comp that wants to like snowball early, but then runs into a real problem later on. Meanwhile, you see Malphite locked in, which like Malphite just like looks at this and goes, haha, Pantheon, I just don't care. You can put me as far behind as you want. It doesn't matter. I haven't just skipped ahead to the London game, the cleanest game of the day. I will probably get to it and we'll see, but if you say it's the cleanest game of the day, I think is that the sarcastic answer, or it's definitely not the cleanest game of the day. But I think Demise have been hamstringed here a little bit. Demise right now, the only way I can see them potentially winning is if they really accelerate like from all lanes. May not have been the clean. May not have been. I think you're allowed to get away with it, right? The question is, did you win or did you lose? Like, the result to me doesn't... Because if you won, then it was the cleanest game you ever played and you could laugh about it. Okay, so... we won, so therefore it's 100% clean. Perfect, see? Right. Okay, so they're doing the right thing here. So what we were expecting to see is you need to do this on both sides of the map and snowball your matchups. Pantheon does the right thing by pulling the wave here. And he's going to basically create it so that the wave will start pushing to him. And he gets to level 2 first. It can be the startup of a cheater recall or the startup of a dive. I feel like if they're really going to win with this draft, blue team need to do it on this side of the map too, and pray that the enemy team don't punish it. So these guys probably should have already been in lane to catch the wave. But I don't think they actually win at level 1, which is the problem. Because Galio Q plus or W and Kaiser passive is obnoxious. So, and this is the example, right? This wave is now pushing to him. And only Angel accelerates that by coming up and using like E on the wave. In reality, this wave is now kind of doomed. Hey Riku, what's up, my guy? So, wave is now slow pushing towards Pantheon. This is probably the only time where Malphite might actually get some kind of advantage, but he's taken D shield. So what you want to do when this shit happens is when you have a wave like this that's built up, you probably want to start trading, because if you start trading, the minions help out and kind of like push you back on level terms. He doesn't do that. He doesn't take the trade when he has minion advantage. And Rifty is just going to keep like harassing him, and he takes like Corrupting Pot. So Corrupting Pot gives him basically an extra 150 HP every time. And then this guy is now fucked. So he hasn't traded when he needed to with minion advantage, because he's got D shield, which, and to be honest, I'm not going to lie here, D shield doesn't work in these kind of matchups. It stops the all-in, yes, but yeah. Look, didn't even do shit. HP is worth more than a D shield. So I think he should have taken Corrupting Pot. And he might have been better off. That, or just take boots and like a shitload of pots. Oh no. Okay, this is where I question the pathing from jungle. So if you're on the same page here, there's a very real world where Pantheon can just walk up and W and he's perfectly fine. I think they're just trying to ward out for him. Ivan shows on the map, which is really bad for him. Right, and this is the reason why it's bad for him, is now the enemy team knows he's here. Hecarim knows that his bot lane can just do whatever the fuck they want. This guy's under no pressure. And you need to snowball this game as quickly as possible. But it's a good start, right? Samira is already 10 CS down in bot lane. And that's probably courtesy of Kaiser Galio having prio and just being able to crash whenever they feel like. They're under 0 threat. Ivan comes in and ganks. Okay, so he TP's back, he tries to, and the wave is still frozen. Still fucked. What should have happened here, which would have been better for Enclave. Okay. Don't walk up, don't TP back. Honestly, just walk with Hecarim and then have a 2v2. I don't like Hecarim Pantheon or Hecarim Malphite. And the opposite could be that you hold this and have a little bit more patience, and Victor can push out and Victor can start moving as well. And you have a 3v2 where Echo has to burn TP. There's a couple seconds there that you could use to try and win the trade. Instead, he steps up on his own when he needs to communicate to his team that he needs help breaking this freeze. And now it's going to get worse for him. It's only going to get worse because now they're getting stronger, and the 2v2 becomes like way harder to try and even break the freeze because of the advantage they have on blue. But this gold lead isn't enough already. Like, they need about like 6 more kills, and it needs to be in the other lanes as well. not just top. So anyone want to take bets on who wins this game? Because honestly, right now, Demise are doing the right things, but it's not going to be enough. Ooh. So he TPs to answer. Sykes gets like the worst end of the deal. They still haven't broken the freeze with the TP. This 2v2 is happening, but it's proactive from Rifty. He's 0-2 and CS down. The issue is that Samira is a wave down, Echo is a wave down, and your Ivan is like 3 camps behind, meaning that all of this is fairly moot point. So all this advantage in top lane is basically becoming an issue of now your rest of your lanes are falling behind, because jungle is consistently showing here before the rest of his team have like been able to push out or set up properly. They're getting no attention. Wait, if they kill him here, it's game over. This game's already over. Enclave have now just lost on their strong side. They've put the lane back to neutral so he can kind of farm again. And in the meantime, these guys are just scaling like this entire time on Enclave's side. This game is practically already over. There we go. Auto win draft. This gold lead needs to be built up to like at least 2k. Otherwise it's just not going to work. They're diving him again on a slow push wave. This time we've got the additional setup of Echo having pushed Prio beforehand. But he loses his wave. They deny more on top than they lose in mid. His bot lane haven't received any attention from jungle. And his bot lane haven't done their wave control properly. What I assume happened in bot lane before we didn't get to see it because we've been so focused on top lane, is that there was a slow push coming here. Let's go back a few seconds before the slow push is created. So here, bot lane get this wave in, it crashes, and I assume it's going to be a cannon wave in bot lane. They push it out too quickly. This creates a slow push that Kaiser is going to catch. Yeah, they're building a slow push instead of just crashing it. And now what happens? Because they create a slow push away from themselves while they make the play on top lane, they can no longer farm. They're no longer able to do it. Yeah, there's jungle camps up, but they're going to be denied and frozen out of this like next 2 waves. Guaranteed. The fact that Samira is allowed to walk up like this and go straight back to the wave, I think is a bit of a mistake. Alright, we've been so focused on top. He goes 0-4, still can't do anything. And now he's off on his hollybobs. He's on a roam. He's had enough of being dived. He's had enough of this. Like, he just can't do anything. He wants to be involved in the game to at least get some experience. Gets nothing again, but he gets a wave of experience here in mid. Are they just going to let top lane die? I mean, there is argument here that like Enclave losing top turret would actually be for their benefit, because then Pantheon has to continually overextend, and the lane phase is over. And if the laning phase is over, then Malphite can farm, and he can cause a freeze. He answers any play with his TP, and you're a happy rock. 10 minutes in, 1k gold lead for Demise, but Enclave have full scaling, so this gold lead is like kind of irrelevant. This is like the equivalent of actually having like, cool, we've got a 2k gold lead on our Pantheon, but the rest of the enemy team is all like 500 gold ahead of your counterparts. They take Drake. Let's see their wave states. They push out mid. Okay, so they push out mid, then they move into jungle together, get full control of the area, and keep playing through mid and bot lane. Double TP. Okay, so this is kind of sloppy by Enclave, right? This play could have been so much easier if they just TP'd in the right spots. Like, drop a... If someone has a ward... I know they just went on a massive streak, so they might not actually have anything left after, like, putting all their vision in here. But this probably should have been communicated earlier, because Victor is still not... TP's late, right? On your proactive play, the enemy team is actually answering with TPs faster than you are. So the call definitely needs to be a bit clearer on Enclave so that they know. This Victor TP is extremely late for him to come down. And blue team try engaging into Galio, into Malphite, into Victor, and yeah, it's not a fun time. Smart play here by Demise after, though. So Echo uses his ultimate, he gets out of there, because he just gets low, and then it puts him back to mid lane so he can push in the wave. I think the Demise roster is internally boomed. Ah. Okay. But you keep the gold lead, you've got mid, and you nearly get the second charge off. I don't have the commands on or anything. But I can just put the link in the chat. Here you go. Let's just drop back a few seconds because I missed. So we see the response. So they go for a full fight bot lane. They fully commit. So they take a smart play where it's like commit to one side of the board. If that doesn't work for you, you switch to the other side. It's like a chess principle. You can apply it to League. If your attack isn't going to work, if you're getting attacked on one side, you either react with. If you can't react fast enough, fully commit to the other side. Demise try to react to it. It doesn't work, so they just go the other side. But they still end up taking the fight, which goes badly for them. Now Hecarim is like incredibly fed. Who's killing Hecarim on this team? No one. Mid lane goes down. In that time, Echo is reset. He's taking a smart reset here. Wow, thanks Pete. No, I don't want to be famous. I've never wanted to be famous. Now Victor... Right, okay, so the one thing that's going in favor of Demise now is it creates this kind of scenario that they could try to punish, where this guy gets prio in top lane with Pantheon. Victor is forced to walk to here without any turret. And then what Pantheon can do is once he has prio, he can immediately ult behind the Victor and they can try and look for something. That's the only real play available to them right now. I've got the funny feeling... Yeah, Pillar goes for the wave. Way too soon. And there's your answer. See? So there's the play that's going to happen, or what I spoke about. The issue is that these guys got bot prio, so they're going to answer with bot prio versus top prio. And this isn't exactly the cleanest engage from Demise either. Right play, kinda. But they just weren't entirely on the same page, and it's rushed. But it's going to come out in their favor. Kinda. And the reason it's coming out in their favor... Actually, no, I don't think this is in their favor at all. Malphite's cleared the wave in top, and Samira, like, missed out on a large wave in bot lane. So they've dropped 2 waves there. The real answer now is you want to keep Echo into Victor, but now they've moved Victor to bot lane, so Pantheon can't just ult on him with no flash. Pantheon overextends for the turret, and the game is lost. So this Ivan shows with info on blue side. They know that Ivan is on that side of the map. Pantheon cannot for all intents and purposes, go aggressive here. He sees this. Drake is 1 minute. So in his head, in Pantheon's head right now, he assumes that Hecarim is going to be coming onto this side of the map and trying to get control in this area. Hecarim is so fast that he chooses to not do that, and so he can answer this play when he goes for it, and that's why you can't take the risk until you have information of where Hecarim is. And the reason that this comes out into place is because Red Team has previously seen Ivan in this area, so they know that the only person, like, with all the information they had at hand, they have seen Ivan, they've seen Samira because she was on the wave, they've seen Echo in mid that went this way. Like, all the information states that they're all in this area, meaning that he's on his own. If you run through those decisions really quickly, you're like, okay, this guy's free. He's overextending. If he overextends, then Enclave don't need to set up properly because they're just going to kill him. And then when he's dead, Malphite pushes this out. He walks to mid for free. And you get a free Drake. That's just from the information given on Red Team. So see what happens. So here's Malphite moving now. Pantheon's joining the fight now, but Malphite's already here ahead of him. And now you're contesting the control. Kai'Sa took a bit of a wonky base. So what did Kai'Sa base for? Not in base, not in base, not in base, not in base. She bases when there's 30 seconds to Drake left. I think that's a mistake there. Depends what I should... Okay. She literally bases for a fucking dagger. Alright. So this is the... this is also a really big thing, right? When there's 30 seconds to go on an objective, you cannot base. Because a base, what it does is it gives up your control. Because you're down a person, so they have to wait for you. And the other one in there is that if this Kai'Sa stays on the map, she's not like much stronger. It's not like a major break point. And you would have had Kai'Sa walking in now with her team. So the value of the control is substantially more than whatever she purchased in this case. The last bases that you can take if you're quick are at 45 seconds. And the reason that it's at 45 seconds is because of the waves and how they work. You need to be hitting the mid wave that's at ... 30 here in mid. And then basically this is the most important wave for trying to get control of an area over in a neutral objective. And she completely missed that. That was her reset window. Luckily, blue team don't like start this immediately, and blue team like their composition sucks, but it's a bad habit to have necessarily from Demise or Enclave's point of view against like more standard compositions. Where if that had been against a team, for example, that they play tomorrow, and they did this, and the composition is different, obviously, they may have potentially just given over Drake. It's a sloppy base. It's a bad habit. So now we see this Drake fight, right? So there's a mistake by Enclave in the setup. So here we're just seeing the setup now, like 1 minute before, 45 seconds here. The wave that's coming here is the one we're talking about that it's got to be hit. See? Here's the wave they want to hit. And now Demise are allowed to walk into this area here, and then red team Enclave have to try and retake the point, basically. Think of it like CSGO, where you have to come back in, they planted the bomb, they have all the angles that you've got to check. Unfortunately, Demise's comp is just trash, and they don't have red trinkets, and they don't have like pinks and controls to actually set this up. Like, if they had control wards in here, it could have been a very different story for them. But Enclave, knowing they have to retake, do the smart thing. Enclave have to retake the objective, you push out the mid wave, and you push in this way. And the reason is so you don't get stuck in this choke here or here. Because if you all funnel through a small choke, it's really bad for you. And it's probably the only way that Demise can ever win an outright fight. If Echo gets a W and it hits like 4 or 5 people. Okay, so they're taking a... So fight front to back. Now, what we'd be expecting to see is that someone is going to try and go around and flank in. Enclave have a good ward here that would spot that movement. Otherwise, we're just going to end up with this. And I'm pretty sure this just favors Enclave. Because Enclave are just going to go, hey, I'm going. Bang, here's a Malphite ult, here's Galio ult over the top. Front to back fight, we win these. Every single time. Demise, if they ever want to try and find a win, need to have Echo coming from a flank or something. Like a god flank that catches everybody. So yeah. Instant draft loss in this one, unfortunately. I think in this instance, it's more of a case of during the game when they were drafting, they probably saw that like these power picks are available. Sometimes certain power picks don't work together. I think obviously it's easy to say this about drafts. But next time I assume that Lorx, when he's drafting, will go, okay, we take one of the two and we build the composition around that one of the two. Sometimes this happens when teams don't ban certain things and all your prep is done assuming that like Pantheon on red is just a default ban. And then you get thrown a Savannah in the works and then, yeah, your draft goes to shit. Because they're making you draft on your feet, which is never something you really want. So, happens. Okay, Enclave, they finished the Drake. Malphite bases. Are they staying on the map? No. These bases are late. If they want to do second Herald, these bases are a bit late. Like their tempo is really fucked. Because now Demise are back out on base and they're hitting the mid-wave again. And now you've just given this like a free Herald over, but at the same time it's only second Herald. Like you can value the gold over it and the waves. At a certain point, though, Kai'Sa Galio need to realize that they can just step up and they're majorly ahead. Like, Samira's not even at a first item, and they're letting Samira be the one to hit the waves first. And I think that comes from the psychology of, like, we're extended far away from our turret. So they're allowing blue team to have first move through river. Victor is winning because Echo is now like 1-4. Feels bad, man. I still think Echo could win on sides there, though. But like, I'm just questioning like what can Demise do now from this position? The only play that is available to them, because Samira isn't relevant right now. She's too far behind now. They can't team fight, so they need to find and get creative on their side lanes. So it either needs to be that like they find a way that Samira... This is the way to do it, is you can do 2-1-2. It's all good. All good. So you could do 2-1-2. And then you can have basically like support goes in shadows on top. And then you have the jungler goes in shadows on bot lane. Or vice versa. Whichever side the jungler is on, really. So what the setup for it is that support and jungle both show potentially in mid lane, or just support shows in mid lane and helps push out the wave. So there's wave, and then they go down into wave into bot, and one goes to top. And the reason people do this is because everyone normally expects the jungle and support to walk together to a lane and build that control. You can switch it like this, and then you get both of... You have to like strengthen both of your sides, and Samira's already pushed out the mid wave. So she's kind of safe. And it gives you like 30 seconds to then instantly sprint to your side lanes and start applying pressure. And that would probably be the only way that Demise might ever be able to do anything. It's literally having to like abandon any kind of team fight, abandon anything, and just hard force on your side lanes. So they need to force in 40 seconds. The window is now. until 45 seconds where they can force. Need to force on sides now. Okay, so the reason I say they need to force now, and this was the window they had, where like Echo probably shouldn't have based and probably should be still trying to apply pressure, is because now what's going to happen is that these guys are just going to reset, and if they are off the map, then you can't create a positive play. You're just going to push out waves that they'll catch, and there's no play to be made. So you need to be thinking smart about when the enemy team is roughly going to reset and then trying to make your play. 1 minute beforehand, they're just going to ARAM now. They'll never separate again. Ever again. They don't give a shit about their tier 2. They do not give a single shit about their tier 2 anymore. So Enclave are playing it the right way, and Demise are playing it the right way with the situations that are handed to them. Ooh, however, this could have been a mistake. I don't like Ivan should be like waiting here and ready to go. So basically Ivan should be waiting here and ready to go onto whoever tries to defend this. However, Enclave do something quite clever, actually. I'll give them credit for this. They reset, and they have Malphite here with TP. Malphite and Victor can both shadow on each other to make sure that they're never caught. And then, knowing that Demise can't teamfight them, these three can just take Drake, and if anything does happen where Demise are like, ooh, they're on their own as a 3, double TP on the better control wards they've already set up here, and Vision they've set up. So Enclave have actually done this quite smart with their base. Only Angels back out on the map again. They pick up Drake. They assign as little as possible to the Drake while still being able to maintain and catch everything else. So this was actually a very nice thing by Enclave. Enclave. Zoom ahead. This game is now over. Demise are even. Enclave have control on the map when they so choose. Yes, they probably could have forced a little bit harder with some of the things they had with how even they were, I think. But it's a 23-minute game, right? Why need to take any risks? Drake into now. So right, red team should be the one setting the agenda of what's going to happen. So we come out of base, we come out of this. Kai'Sa bases. So Kai'Sa is always behind on tempo versus this bot lane for some reason, because she just never chooses to stay on map. And she's taking like all these bases that probably aren't needed. What does she buy? She buys a Zeal and a control ward. I mean, fair enough. That's a fair amount of gold to be stuck on. I'll give you a pass on this one base, but... Right, this mid wave is really important. Why are we not contesting it? Because we're doing red. Order of priorities. Like, in a list of what you should be doing, 1, priority. That gives you, once you have priority, that gives you a 30-second window where you can then do red, you can do vision, and you can lean to top. It's like a breakdown, right? If you do priority, that gives you 30 seconds once the wave is cleared, and then you get back and you do the next mid wave. And then here becomes number 3, which is wave again. So every time you clear a wave, it gives you 30 seconds if you're one catching it first. And if you catch it even higher, you get even more time. So for some reason they let mid prio go, which Hecarim picks up. Fair enough. Like, as long as someone catches the wave, but ideally I'd like to think that Enclave should be picking up these waves and be the ones building their own control. Like, you can push this hard together, move into this area again, and then what happens is in that time you cover while Victor is pushing out. And then Victor gets 30 seconds, and then Victor can move over to help mid lane when they go to push again on their second wave. And you can keep alternating. and you'll have control in the area. G2 versus XL is a really good example of G2 doing this. Yeah, he just gets run down. How does he end up in that position to begin with? So they go for mid-pro. The wave isn't actually in mid, by the way, when they're contesting this. Hecarim goes to pick it up. Galio and Kai'Sa move back to mid for some reason. I'm not too sure of the calls here, but it's not exactly like clean or the cleanest in terms of like systematic setup. Okay. They pick up the echo kill. Because of the past couple minutes, Enclave have had like and denied all the vision in the river, so it's very hard to just walk in blind. And now they've given over Baron. Let's just see how well Enclave use their Baron. So they get mid-prio. They come in here. They take away the camps. They have the wave in top, which they've rotated for. There's now the mid-wave, though. Okay, they're forcing on this while Hecarim picks up the mid-wave. Now they can rotate over and catch the mid-wave. This was nice. I don't think they need to 1-3-1. I think they can just play on 2 lanes, and this is absolutely fine. So like up to here was good. This is good. Normally then it comes in for your either your reset or what you're doing after. Because everyone is on different resets now. Okay, Kai'Sa Galio. Galio goes back to pick up more vision. Let's try and do another setup for another push. We've still got it. We can do 2 more waves. Yep, pick up mid. Now you've got the control. Here's your next push. I feel like Galio and Kai'Sa should already be moving. Like, speed of thought here should be picking up this bot turret. But I believe they're playing for Elder. So they catch the mid wave. Ah, see? Hecarim's in base. So this is kind of ill-timed. So basically, Cleanser here takes way too fucking long in his reset. So he farms this, and then he goes back onto his camps. This is a big no-no. So when you're ahead on as a jungler, okay, this is a big no-no from Cleanser. Do not bother wasting your time farming these camps. These are the camps that are your reserves now. And the reason for it is because you can just farm the enemy camps. And if the enemy camps aren't up, then all you're going to do is alternate between lanes and pick up. When your team are fully resetting, you're full resetting, you can probably pick up 1 or 2 camps as long as they're nearby. In this instance, he was not nearby. The nearby camps were here and here, and then he should reset to be with his team so that they are enabled. Or you say, fuck it, you don't reset at all, and you just stay on the map. Reason being, now red team, they've come off their resets together. Red team want to look for control in this area. Galio, Kai'Sa, and Victor are all in the right place, but now Hecarim's in base. And they're all off tempo again. And now because Hecarim isn't here, blue team have been enabled to walk up like this, walk into here, and just deny all the great vision that you just set up for your beautiful dragon that you're going to attempt to take. So this is a bit of a mistake by Enclave on the setup with the resets. Engage isn't exactly like brilliant. So this is another instance, right? Okay. Here. We can just go, they're trolling. Like this guy is probably now dead already. Like if Victor just throws his stuff down, which he's done. Zhonya's. They kill Echo on the side, and then they try to engage for more. But Pantheon flashes the engage. So the initial bit is fine. The secondary engage is probably not required, but you know, it's well played by Rifty to just flash out the full combo. Maybe could have been a bit more patient on their engage options. This is probably as good as it's going to get for Demise, but it's just not enough because they'd already used all their engage options on red, so this is the only chance Samira probably has to do something. Red team are on the Drake, but also now they're coming over the wall. Yep, Samira goes in, tries to deal damage, but she's just not accelerated enough to actually make a difference. Alright, so we get Elder. Let's see how we set up and just end this game now. They probably haven't had much experience of getting to this stage yet, so it's probably going to be unclean. Okay, mid-pro. Achieved. Now how are we going to push it? Are we just going to straight up engage? Because they can. They have Elder. They have all these engage options. You can just go. They know Pantheon has no flash now, by the way. If they just decided to, like, sprint it, they could. They're not pulling the trigger. They're scared. They're worried. But they'll get it on the next wave anyway. I don't know why they aren't just engaging on this. With, like... So Priya, watch where Malphite positions himself. These aren't, like, major things, but this is, like, the difference between having... speeding up the game. So Malphite right now should be, like, playing on the range of this engage here. And they're stacked on top of each other, by the way. So this is two primary carries stacked on top of each other, and there's a lot of distance between them and their team. They're actually quite separated. If you notice any like opportunities like these, where you see teams that are split like this, you can instantly punish. But they choose not to. They don't use any of their engage options on the flashless Pantheon. Does Samira have flash? Samira didn't have flash either. That was a game ender right there that they could have hit instead of going for the Baron. So they choose to get Baron instead. So I think the Elder runs out now in a little bit. So now they double inhib, but it's slowing this game down. They need to take like every turret. They come off base, they take bot lane turret, they push for third. This is kind of like meh. So you push for this. Alright, and this is where someone should be catching the next mid wave, like here, together. You want to catch like the mid wave normally, so if you're in mid lane, right? You want to catch it when it's coming to about here to keep it pinned in. Otherwise, if you don't catch it when it's in that area, what will happen is the mid wave will push all the way out back to like mid lane, and you won't see the next wave for another 30 seconds, and it slows down the game. So Hecarim should probably grab that wave right a little bit before it gets to here. So there's a little fumble on the mid wave, but it shouldn't matter. The game should still end. Your 3 inhibs down now. But considering the draft difference, I feel like Enclave played this extremely slow with what they could have done just to end the game when they had everything set up and ready. They were waiting for perfect conditions, which, like, perfect is not actually perfect. It's not the best way of playing in a lot of the time. So, alright. Let's go to Resolve London. So, is this the game that we're talking about, or is it... It's the one... Okay, it's day 2. Okay. Fair enough. Just want to have a quick look at the draft and the draft order, just to like get an idea of maybe what they're thinking. This game's interesting in its own right. Okay, fair. Right. So... Because Camille Gallio on blue side. They ban Vayne, Lucian Flex. The Vayne ban, though? I guess that's a little bit of respect. Seraphine ban on red. Pantheon ban on red. Olaf is left open. So they leave Olaf open and it was never taken. Thinking. Talia and Lilia will both open as well into Graves. Okay, so here's like my free advice, I guess. So Kai'Sa ban, I mean, you can kind of get away with it because people keep first picking Kai'Sa, but the idea of Kai'Sa with the first pick is not that she's like overpowered. There are ways to play into it. It's just the fact that she can fit into so many different compositions and she's fairly flexible in what she does. So she's DPS. She does a little bit AP. She can kill tanks. She can play dive comps as well. She can play aggressively, and she loves to skirmish. She can team fight, literally, and she can even join in 1-3-1 comps with picks. So it's the flexibility of she's just that good and fits into everything. Maybe not worth the ban though if you've got a set plan. But it is Yusa, and Yusa has played Kai'Sa a lot, and he makes it look good because of how Resolve play, if I recall correctly. So fair enough. Graves pick when Olaf is available, probably testing things. But then what you could have done, I know they banned out the Lucian, so it's like not great, but you can still take like Lilia, you can take Talia, like there are a number of AP options. Nidalee as well, I think PFI likes Nidalee, but I could be wrong. But Hecarim is still a fine choice. It's not like, it's just, you know, if you're looking for those extra 1%, that would be where I picky. Jhin first pick, yeah, that's fine. And the answer was Syndra and Gragas. So they take a weak side top. They take a priority mid laner where like not many things can actually answer the prio or priority that they get from it. And then they lock in Samira Alistar, which is strong 2v2 lane. Okay, so this is another instance, right? Okay, if you split your bans, what happens is that this can happen. It's better to just ban out and kind of like pick one. So for instance, just ban Samira and Aphelios, or ban Leona and Alistar. And the reason for it is if you ban Alistar here, then it creates a problem where they might have to like pick Samira plus like a weaker support when she wants to snowball. However, Resolve's draft makes sense. Alright, so here's your weak side. Here's your strong side. And then you've got a decent 2v2, which can benefit your strong side. So they keep getting river vision and then walking down and giving all the vision to these guys so they can continually look for all ins. So we're probably going to see Resolve basically build out from mid lane all the way down to their bot side, and then bot side trying to like force plays. Now, the reality of the situation is that if you look on the other side, this and this will get prio from bot lane, just because they can, if they get to the wave first and they don't interact with the enemy bot lane at level 1, they can keep prio up. And if they keep that up, they will take a favourable first base and they can keep prio up. So it's on Resolve's 2v2 from mid lane to stop that cycle repeating, and then allow their bot lane to potentially cheat the matchup with prio and get back into the lead and be the one setting the pace in the lane. So the answer with Hecarim Zoe in the 2v2, if Zoe lands Charm, maybe they could do something. Hecarim could be a good engage if they're ever too far apart from each other, and then that way they might be able to do something. I mean, fair play. There is also the world where they might send the Maokai top, because I haven't seen the full thing, but Maokai bot lane would make sense. Yeah. And then we see Sion top. Free word of advice. I don't know if Sion is like the ultimate weak side pick, or that's the only thing he really like feels comfortable playing, but there's definitely some other things we could potentially break out. My probable thing with Merp is that Shen might feel like a much safer, easier thing, because Shen can actually get prio early in a lot of weak side matchups, and it probably fits him a bit more as a player of being able to duel people, and it gives him some like options where he could do like the Titanic build and maybe, you know, force a little bit. And Shen gets Pyro versus Gragas early. Gragas wins the matchup later on. So it's the same kind of deal, right? Okay, so let's see what happens. So look for a little cheeky invade level 1. Fair play. So he's taking the leash on top side. They know Sion's going to be weak side, so you might as well just say fuck it, make him be weak side. He doesn't care about his level 1. So Resolve. This is smart by Resolve. This is a good start by Hecarim in the sense that he wants to path away from this lane and go to bot lane. Now here's the response in that Resolve are going to try and split the map this way, so that then Hecarim never ends up on the bot side to play for like London's strongest point of the game. Like they are we understand it. London's bot lane is kind of the thing that wins them games. So now they're in a split map situation. They will still get prio because they got to the lane first because of this, but the priority that they're using is going to be difficult because they can't push out. Because if they push out and they push all the way here, Graves, if they end up with like being stood here, Graves has a really easy opportunity to come in from behind. So see what they do with their lane. Okay, Hecarim's recognized that he's behind on it, yeah, but he's still collecting all the camps and doing everything properly. But this is now the benefit of Resolve. They've managed to mitigate their weak level 1 with this invade. Okay. Graves clear this. And then he either looks for bot or he resets, I think. And this is the situation of the split map. Now once they've both cleared, Hecarim doesn't want to waste his time going top. It's worthless for him. They've pushed in and now have a slow push that's going to get denied. As soon as the animation comes out, this is smart by Emre. As soon as Jin's animation comes out, so he can't move, he immediately is like playing on range. However, I think these guys should switch places in the lane. So normally in bot lane, there's a thing called parallel lines. So you always want them stood like this. Now, here's the thing though, that if these guys switched, Alistar is then threatening the engage here, and Samira can walk in, but there's just too much range in this lane. Like, they're not playing. I feel like if Resolve are going to come down bot lane, their line needs to probably be a little bit further up, being like here instead, and positioning here and here, just on the range. And then they keep like toggling back and forth on that range, where they like keep walking over the line and back over the line. So then the enemy bot lane don't really know what the fuck is like. If they are going, are they getting ganked? Are they not? Yeah. And then if they do that, and then Emre immediately flash engages when Graves is going to be here, this gank probably pays off, right? So just watch what Emre does. Toggle, 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 toggle. And now I'm going. Immediately flash Q. Okay, we're going in. He burns his sums, but it's a little bit like you needed to wait a few more seconds for Graves to be there on time. Otherwise, that was a really nice setup. Serious engage rating grows crazy. The path to me. Bingo. Love a little bit of CC in our life. But so far, the game is roughly even. However, and London have managed to get out of that situation. Although they are sums down on their main carry, they are out of the situation without like really losing anything more than that. Yeah, it's like it could turn bad in like a minute or two because of the use of no sums on Jin, which can be punished. Let's see. Alright, so this is now slow pushing towards Resolve. They can recreate the same scenario that just happened 1 minute prior if they're quick and they recognize it. So then they decide to do a 2-wave crash. Right. So here, this is where I would ask the question to players and say, do you feel like you are strong enough to try and hold the wave and pull it up here? But they're being pressured all the way in, like, so it's probably a no. London are doing the right thing. Most of the time you'll see in ERLs, some people, what they do is they push the wave like this and then they immediately walk away. And by walking away, they're going to do what I just mentioned about pulling the wave up here and then freezing it. So red team do the right thing, make sure it gets crashed. And, oh, it doesn't quite reach. Doesn't quite reach. This wave's going to be even now, but it will eventually slow push back to London. So here, because it doesn't quite reach, if Samira doesn't like clear this entire wave, it's actually technically frozen and they could create something. For some reason, she just clears it again. So I assume the reason that they're clearing is because they want to contest this. But I would have thought their 2v2 is strong enough to do that on their own without the need for Alistar. There you go. As case in point. So we're starting to see the bridge built from mid lane, where we mentioned in the early screen about the 2v2. We're seeing like that prio. Okay, we get prio and then we build vision here, and make sure that we are allowed to consistently walk in between river for free. That's why Alistar breaks the freeze, so he can come help. So they're looking to fight Drake. That's why they broke the freeze. They get mid-prio first, and then they all move into the river because Zoe's catching the wave. In that time, Samira has pushed out her wave. And Drake is now done. Okay. Resolve, do not overstay. A lot of the time what you'll see is some people mistakenly, they stay to finish the Drake, when in reality they should just be running back to accept their wave that Jhin is pushing in. Jin's holding the wave in this instance though, so not entirely applicable. Sion's even. Game's entirely even in gold. This, I'm not even sure who really like scales harder, because red team have Hecarim versus Graves, which both scale pretty well. Syndra versus Zoe, I would probably edge it towards Zoe. Or Zoe. And then Samira versus Jhin. Samira in DPS, but Jhin in utility. Maokai versus Alistar, probably Alistar. But then you got Sion versus Gragas. Like, there's some okay scaling on both sides, but I might go to Resolve. But then, look at people's waves. Look at people's waves. What are they doing? Okay, so he's trying to crash in this wave top. He's not. Oh, Merp, no. Okay, so this is an instance where Merp could quite happily just hold the wave where he is. And he could hold it for top wave. Just create a freeze for himself. But it lets the wave crash into him and then resets. Zoe Syndra. So funnily enough, Zoe is actually ahead on 6. So I know in LPL people like to play Zoe into Syndra, but then when you look in like solo queue, most people like to play the Syndra side of the matchup because you can just Q and E when she like uses her R. So okay, Graves has just got natural. You just need to check the jungle matchups back from after the Drake. Sorry. So you know Drake is going down. Hecarim in this time should be able to farm his camps and then try and create a tempo lead on the next objective. So he clears blue. He clears wolves. Graves is technically still 1 camp behind him. Now 2 camps behind him. So he's catching up. He takes red. Okay, Graves is now like technically behind him. Cool, we don't see him. He keeps farming. He keeps farming. He keeps farming. And then he resets. Graves does not reset. Graves is still on the map from all of this. And then he uses the advantage. So I think this is a bit of a not throw, but I think on this instance, like, are they going to be strong enough to do Herald? Well, technically they were in the area where they could have set up prior, so choose to ignore this camp. Could you look for it now? Maybe, but you're an item disadvantage, right, against Graves on base, but you're ahead on tempo for jungle matchup, and mid was already moving, but they haven't reset in this time. So what I think may have been better, specifically for PFI or London here, is if you're going to accept losing the Drake, okay, there needs to be a call 2 minutes in advance to be like, okay, we farm our camps and we create a tempo lead to go where? Like, what for? Because now Hecarim, what he could do is actually just reset after this and then come back out onto the map and be ahead of Graves, and also has a small economy advantage versus the Graves matchup, where he has more items now. And if he bases, he can get the control ward, and then he might be able to build something, right? You might be able to actually contest the Herald, because Hecarim's going to be 6, and then you might be able to do like Hecarim engage or fight or something, or he could just come straight off base and then look top. Like, you have to give yourself that option. But if you do this, you've surrendered Herald as well, because you haven't reset and you're still behind on your economy because you've not taken a reset before that as well. So that's the jungle matchup. Top lane, I mean, I said Merp could have maybe got a freeze off and held it. Gragas was getting low on mana. Zoe's ahead in a lane. I think that's fine. I think Den and Jeppe are doing kind of like the right thing, where they just try and keep their prio up. Maybe I would prefer that they aggressively try to crash this so the wave isn't permanently stuck here. But then they have to start a 2v2, which Graves and Syndra have continually been building bridges, so it makes it difficult. So in reality, I think there's 2 things where they need to interact with their jungler, which is 1, when the wave is crashing properly on their wave crash timings, or opening the opportunity when they're doing Drake here for them to fully get the crash in. Because there's if the enemy's doing Drake, there should be time for you to push in your waves and get a free reset, because the enemy team is going to come off the Drake and then collect the waves. I'm going to assume on air, right? So here he's coming down to try and like break the wave. No ping, no ping, no ping. Does he get spotted by one of these minions? I'd love to be able to see the vision if they see this or not. So I'm going to guess that this vision, like these 2 melee minions here, gave the vision away of Hecarim. Just. I mean, it might be like a pixel out. It's either that, or they didn't see it, but they have no vision up here, so they must have. If they had vision up here, then it would have made sense that they could make a deduction that, like, he's not coming top, there's no vision in this area, so the only place he can logically be is here, and he's not showing up in mid because we know Zoe's on a reset from the info, so he's got to be bot lane. So probably just saw him on the minions. However, this is now in a slow push against Mr. Denvox and Jeppe. Are they going to hold it? The gold should be roughly a little bit ahead for London, considering they didn't take the first Drake, because Hecarim should have a few camps over, and you know the other laners should be like a wave or 2 ahead in mid and bot because they didn't do the Drake. So in reality, Resolve taking the first Drake has just meant this is where you start to see the difference between maybe some better players in terms of their laning and just their development so far. In the sense that they're able to actually just take a Drake and still maintain the lead. Or maintaining even, parity even. Next Drake's 1 minute. Let's see what happens. So Maokai is now going to look to try and get saplings in, set up, and get ready for this Drake. So they probably want to crash or fight for this mid prio. So on base here, they're trying to break the freeze And then what London, I assume they're breaking the freeze, and then they want to push this in and then look for the river control. The thing is, then they see Graves, then they see like Alistar, and they're like, shit, okay, maybe not. 3v3, I don't know if we win that. The problem is, then they didn't get the read that here's a better play, potentially. Instead of trying to come bot lane... no, so they're doing the Wraith... Okay, there is no alternative play. Zoe's not in mid lane, so they can't really... Zoe's on reset. This is the last reset you can get. I think the only thing that can happen here is that you look for this. If it doesn't pan out and you can't break it because you see them like here, you then beeline and instantly track over to here to try and break the vision hold. Jeppe makes the mistake of trying to come bot lane again and looking for the cannon when he should have just walked straight with Hecarim now and fight over the control when the mid is... He should have been looking for mid prio first. So Jin just gives up on his wave and moves first. That's perfectly fine. He sees the control being more useful than his wave. Gragas, I assume, is moved because he had prio first. So let's just see the top laner point of view. Okay, I think this is... I think Artorias gets prio here. And he moves first. But it's not by much. It's only like a second. So in retrospect here, this ward isn't really worth anything for Gragas. I think Gragas should just be using the time to move to mid immediately. Because we've got the flip side of the coin, right? Where I'm saying what London could do is immediately go to contest if the speed of thought is to contest this. If they start walking to mid and contesting here, then you're going to have Gragas walking into that contested area with Sion following. So he's got a small tempo lead. But Sion has ult, so it goes either way. I feel like Jeppe should be throwing as many saplings into these brushes as possible, which he is. Okay. Where's Merpillion? Merp's now in fog. Ah, you shouldn't show. No. So what Merp could do here, okay? If he understands about what vision they have and what is pinged out and what is... So he has a control ward here. If it's called that there's no vision in here, right? What London could set up is that he's going to walk into this brush here, and then he waits. And then this creates this line here, all right? And if they ever walk into this area here, they're going to get a sapling, and they'll also get a Sion Q in their face. And this is the opportunity they're looking for. Now, if they walk into that space, what will happen is that Zoe can like pepper them with stuff from over the wall, and that person will likely be chunked and can no longer fight. And then it's up to Resolve to then say, do we want to fight with someone that's been chunked already? And you have to like force them into that kind of decision. Instead, Merpillion is not... We're not like zoning them. And now they've been allowed to walk into the area where we might have been able... Can you imagine, right? Let's go back. He doesn't show, he doesn't show, he doesn't show, he doesn't show. Okay, imagine this doesn't happen and he's just like walked this way around in the fog in here. Okay. He's face checking now because he saw the information. He likely wouldn't do this. Gragas would probably still be back here. But now red team are really thinking like, shit, how do we retake this position? They're all in the right spots. They can't move, but Merp is not involved in this play by being stood here. Right? You're not holding this angle. You want to hold this. This is the choke point that you want to try and stop them walking through. Because if they can't walk through this when you're Sion, because you're stood here, and it creates the perfect situation for Zoe just to keep coming over the wall and hitting you with shit. Jin can W from range, and it's really difficult for Resolve. Really difficult. Instead, this choke is not protected here, which allows them just to walk in this way for free, and now they're like basically able to do what they like. So TLDR, Mup, stand here, Jeppe probably here, and then Jeppe can use his ultimate to go this way, Sion can use it, and you can just zone control them out of the objective. There's no way they can ever contest if you throw Maokai ult and Sion Qs and everything in the way. They don't contest it, but I feel like maybe blue team went a little bit too far, and it was a mistake that could have been punished for a kill or two. So now we're even on Drakes again. CS in top lane doesn't matter. CS in mid is like one wave ahead, good for Beely. CS in bot lane is bang even. However, they've probably had, even though the CS is even, London probably haven't been as punished as hard as they should have with the situations that could have been created. Okay, they're pushing again. So this is after Drake. Let's see the resets, what we're doing. Taken. Sion immediately reset to go top. Jin, I want to go push out bot lane again. Into a 2-wave crash. Yeah. It's a cannon wave he's building up to get an optimal reset. No, we don't see resets yet out of red team when they... I think the reset should have come in from red team here to go cash in. And then if they are resetting on bot lane, then they will be walking back to the lane like this way here. Because they don't reset, they're probably calling that, saying, you know, we still have a lead in bot lane now based on what items we have. We also see the 2v2, and the Herald is just timing out. The Herald is just timing out. This isn't like a proper setup. This is probably a pretty bad Herald usage. It hasn't been called, it hasn't been done anything. When in reality, if they call Herald here, why not look for mid lane instead of contesting? They could have used Herald here on the mid wave and forced red team out of that position. As like a pressure if they really wanted to contest it. They choose not to because of the zone control that was presented to them by London's comp. And now we need to find a good usage for it. Where do we use it? Ideally, we want to try and use it to break mid. That would be great so we can accelerate the game. Or do we use it top because he's on that side of the map clearing camps? Results in this. So, yeah, they get the gold for it. Cool, we share it. Yeah, we get another plate. But doesn't really achieve anything that they wanted from it. Okay, so now Jin and Maokai reset on a cannon wave. Cannon waves are typically the ones you want to reset on because they just take so goddamn long to push in. And you can create 2-wave crashes on them. They didn't in this case, they just reset together. So they're actually on like neutral tempo with each other. It's just where they choose to go after. So Resolve are a little bit quicker on the play. So now what's going to happen for Resolve? Because they did this, instead of like the speed of thought to go back into like this, they don't really want to send Zoe to side lane. So here's two things, right? So what Resolve are doing is they leave this lane behind. They accept it for two reasons. One, hard mid prio. Hard mid prio creates control in this area. But also, if they weren't playing for this objective, the reason it's better, even if it's not just for the objective, what they can do is they can get mid prio and then they can just walk here with the side laner who doesn't particularly want to be left on side alone. And then Syndra can pick up the wave after. And London can do this exact same thing where they need to answer with mid-wave prio and then they escort Zoe down to the wave. So you can try and pick up waves from all three lanes. Bum 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 bum. Hecarim takes camp. But now you're losing mid-prio. So you're going to try and return and do a handshake and say we'll take bot lane. You lose the objective. Now here's why it's probably going to be better for resolving this situation, because they're going to take Herald, which gives you gold anyway, but then they can also use ultimate and accelerate and push it down on mid. Like 2 Heralds on 1 tower, that tower's gone. And it gets extra bad for them because Yepe shows on mid wave. And this is the exact situation we're talking about. If your support shows on mid wave with the mid laner, that means this guy down here needs to be shadowed by the jungler or he dies. So as soon as Jepe gives that information that he's in mid, he dies. There's nothing he can do because he's not being covered anymore. And then Resolve just punish you, and then they take mid lane turret for it because, you know, second Herald. So London could have very easily come back into this game. They're just slow on the read from that reset. It's just speed of thought. They played well, to be fair. Now they're getting like zone control, or trying to, for this Drake, but all these little things, like Gragas getting a decent reset here. Syndra's going to reset after this, or she just moves straight to bot lane because she realizes that if she resets, they lose control on the map. So she just stays on the map. And this is what we were talking about with like PFI example earlier on with some of the bases, if required. Syndra's already here. Everyone's already here. Sion is not. Zoe is not. They aggressively push you out of this area, saying, no, this is like our control here. You can't walk in. Like, all of this area is ours here. Map's looking for the flank on the side. I feel like Jepe should get punished here. Like, Jepe should get punished for walking in here. If blue team are like ever in this brush waiting. So why does he feel like he's comfortable to walk there in the first place? So Graves gives the information away by Sion checking. He hasn't got information yet on where these guys are. Play. Blue Trinket gives it away. Blue Trinket means that he sees info on where they are and notices they're not in this brush. So he feels he can walk up. Okay, in we go. There's a lot of things. So this is where he's on the flank, but he's so far away from the rest of his team, so they all try to go on him. But it's Sion, and because they waste all their time trying to go onto Sion, then London are freely able to move out of the choke and actually into the area. And now, inadvertently, if Sion actually lands on any of these people here, then they kind of die. Wait, he misses. Oh no! Like, Loki, if Sion just like hits any target here, any target. Oh no, poor guy. Okay, so this fight would have actually really gone well for London. It's a mechanical misplay. The actual concept of the fight, if they did this 9 times out of 10, would probably go well. And in the sense, it's the right idea, right? If you see people coming onto you, you immediately turn. We're out of the choke. Cool. Let's pin them in and flank them from here. But unfortunately, it's misexecution. And because of misexecution, then targets don't die, and then targets turn around and kill you. Poor guy. Okay, so you lost Drake, so now you need to pick up waves and then start thinking about what's the next play we can make. But there's a 2 or 3k gold lead, which it now becomes kind of difficult to play the game. Because even if you have zone control and whatnot in an area, it can be kind of flipped from the fact that they just have better items on better carries. So even if you have a good fight, it might not go well. Merp comes up, gets the tower, but he's going to have to burn his flash. PFI is still farming. But if you want to actually look at this game between PFI and Sof, I think Sof is farming effectively while still outputting pressure on the map versus the Hecarim that is farming, but he's seeing Graves here go to bot lane, but what's the punishment, right? He gets a free reset, yes, and comes back onto the map, but then Sof just stays on map and recognizes that technically this is the concept of control versus items. It doesn't matter if you have better items a lot of the time if you already have great control and your other teammates have already got like some of their resets in or whatnot. It's a result of prioritizing the control of the area over the items that they have. The only time this is ever trumped is if it's a really significant item breakpoint, like Aphelios 3 items or, you know. But in this instance, yeah, it's just pretty unfortunate. Okay. And then we see mid control, which then they use to break top. You'll see this is a really standard, easy thing when you have mid lane turret. Easy wins. Push out mid wave. Gragas is on a shift from bot lane after getting prios, and he's picking up that mid wave for free. No one's answering him. Cool. Here's the mid wave. Push that out. Once that's pushed out, it frees up everybody else to move and then go straight for top. Becomes undefendable. There's nothing you can do. Gragas comes down. He picks up the wave because due to the fact there's no tier 1 anymore, Gragas can get even more time. He gets 45 seconds to move. So when you destroy tier 1s, and what it actually does in a longer lane is it creates an extra 15 seconds for you to roam once you push a wave, if you are on the person without the tier 1. And then it's kind of like the rebound mechanic. It allows you to move for 45 seconds and then come back to lane once the wave is fully under your turret. The alternative, though, is if the enemy team decides to freeze and you don't get the play off in those 30 seconds, then it becomes a bit of a disaster. Okay. So, we saw all this, we saw the prio, we come out, we get top lane turret, cool. More gold in our pocket. Next Drake, 1 minute. Right, let's get mid prio. We killed Jeppe for fun, even though he never interacted with us. We've got mid prio. Now we move as a team, move as a team, move as a team. Okay. Bang. Here's our control. We've gated them. And then bada bing, bada boom. Now we have control of the area. Let's just keep mid prio consistently. Don't let them come out. Don't let them come out. Don't let them come out. We're doing the Drake. We have full control of the area. They can't contest it. They can't do anything. Cool. Soft tries to go aggro because they walk into their control. And now there's not really much that like London are going to be able to do in this game. They're 3k gold down. They're not finding anywhere that they can particularly get prio, and this game feels probably really horrible to play, where they're like catching waves but not really able to turn it into anything. And the question I throw at you is, look at the difference between Sof and PFI with how much pressure they're putting out on waves because of just the matchup. Graves is giving push outs to like bot lane, mid lane, showing up in waves when needed, then going back to farming. And he knows that if he pushes out that wave, he's got time in between that wave and the next one where he can farm a camp. Versus PFI, to his credit, he's doing fine, but if we're going to bump this up 1 or 2 percentage, he needs to be like farming his camps and then being a little bit more mindful of like what waves he might need to be there to like help push out if needed, or being mindful of the waves that Graves is going to push out mid. If he's pushing out mid, I probably need to farm camps close to top and push that out, and then we can at least answer the priority from somewhere else. That's the only way they'll ever like be able to look for find something. You can't go down bot lane. It's just too far away from the objective. But London aren't able to really achieve anything. It's a solid like tempo usage from Resolve. They keep taking smart bases, meaning they give up like literally nothing. Free resets. Back in for the control. Here comes Gragas looking for a fight behind on aggressively on that mid wave. Make sure you get it prioed, pushed in. Push them out of this area. Do not let them in. Don't let Maokai set up. And if you don't have Maokai set up, you can't fight. And yeah, no, you've been pushed out the area, and yeah, it's Ocean. There was nothing that London could do there. You're behind on tempo, you can't get the setup with Maokai, don't get it set up, you're not fighting. Like, Jin Zoe Maokai is actually a really smart usage and smart comp. And it makes a lot of sense. But when you fall this well behind, the game, it's almost impossible. They've got set up for Baron now, I assume. And they're just going to do the same thing. Aggressively on mid-wave. Aggressively look for control in the area. Bada bing, bada boom. Back to mid-wave in that time. Bum, 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 bum. Samira picks up the mid-wave. And blue team stay in their control, looking aggressively. Yep. Here's the next mid-wave. Don't show. No need to show. Like, don't actually put your support on the mid-wave. And this is the reason being that if your support shows in the wave, then what happens is that their team just pushes in here and you're not actually ready actively to defend. I think there's probably a little bit too much space between Emre and Sof here, like Fethligan and Sof, which does allow London to get some kind of vision, which might have been aggressively defended. But it's fine. Still have the control, still have control, still have control. 2 people on. Emre does his job of zoning. They're all coming, they're all coming. This is probably a bit slow, to their credit, but they're finding it difficult to get through Maokai saplings. And then is this going to turn into a fight where they position themselves again? Looking for setup, looking for setup. Jeppe gets caught walking into like no vision, no man's land. They look for Chimera. Oh, that's unfortunate with the mistiming. They probably would have got Syndra there, but unfortunately it's just mistimed on the ult, like. And then they just get run down. Into Elder, into Baron. They chase even more people down because they try to contest, knowing that if they let them have Baron and Elder, the game is done. Like, completely, there's nothing they can do. Into 2 that. Then they lose 2 inhibs. Then it snowballs, it snowballs, it snowballs. So they aggressively look for a pick. Can't find it. And then it just gets worse. And game over. Nothing they could really do on that one. Alright, we're going to do one more, or 2 more games. And then be done with it. So we've got Envision versus Barrage. And then we'll do Bulldog, I believe is the other game. Bulldog versus Eminem, and that's the last game of the day for that day. And then we'll call it there, because I don't want to like get memey. Bum 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 bum. Seraphine, Kai'Sa, Lulu bans by Barrage. So I know for a fact this is a specific ban against Envision. The Kai'Sa ban, I'm still not like entirely sold on. Hecarim, Olaf, Pantheon. For some reason, we're banning these, but I assume it's because they just don't play them or don't want to. So this is an interesting pick and ban phase. Lilia is picked. Hecarim is gone. Olaf is gone. What do you then take? Well, what's the optimal pick here? Kindred can be one of them. Probably not the greatest in the world, but... And Thresh is locked in as just a blind pick support. Fair enough. But then you get Alistar, who is the cock block. Thresh will get prio, but he can't really like start a fight outright. Gragas lock in to play weak side top, so I'd expect they're going to ban Samira because Samira Alistar. They ban Jhin. They ban Aphelios, they ban MF. There's a lot of AD bans going here. So you got Kai'Sa gone, you got Samira gone, you got Jhin gone, Aphelios, MF gone. Do you just take Ashe? What's left? There's like Ashe. There's Senna. What else is left in the AD pool that could be pulled out? Well, there's Ashe. What do you now pick in returns? Because you've seen Ashe, but MF, Jhin, Samira, they're all gone. And now you need time to think about what AD pick you're going to go. So they have to blind Ori. They leave mid until counter till later. Just pick Xayah. Fair enough. It's a fair pick. And then we end up with this. This is going to get full prio and be uncontested with priority unless the junglers flip the matchups. And jungle matchup is probably in favor early to Lilia. So this is kind of horrible for zooming ahead for Raj Academy. Oh, sorry, for Envision's bot lane. This game feels probably kind of unplayable if played correctly and they don't fuck anything up. Okay, Ignite was a bit much, but they burned the flash. Fair enough. Good play, get that. Burn sums. This now even feels worse for Envision's bot lane. Like, Ashe and Thresh just go immediately to lane, pull the wave at level 1, and then they just consistently throw volley at you. Thresh gets prio with autos versus Alistar. Alistar can't do anything at level 1. It feels horrible. Okay. Yep. They don't think they pulled the wave, though. Because they get here too late. Yeah, they get here too late. So what Barrage Academy you can do here, take notes from Rifty with like level 1 in pulling the wave and creating a slow push against yourselves and then poke them off. And it's completely free to do so. Because Alistar isn't going to do fuck all. And then you actually get to level 2 quicker. Well, not level 2 quicker, because if they leash in from bot lane here, you'll hit level 2 quicker. If they choose not to leash, then it's still slow pushing for you. So that's bot lane. Mid lane is like whatever. Top lane, they both leash, so they're both pathing down towards bot. Kindred goes aggressively, takes red, and then immediately looks to try and kill. Smart pathing there by Kindred. Okay. So Lilia goes lower in her clear, which enables Kindred to then be able to do this. And then Kindred does a transitional gank, looks for mid lane, says, okay, hi, I'm here. Pushes him out, and then immediately back onto his blue buff. That's really nice pathing by King. So in a way, inadvertently in this matchup, right, Lilia is going to pull ahead if it just goes PvE and they never interact. Lilia will get ahead. So he's done smart pathing to keep up in the game, exerted pressure, and also got to mid lane, and now he can switch sides again. The path of least resistance, so just going straight to his buff to buff, and then he just takes this, he gets bot lane, takes crab, all really nice. How did Thresh get so low? He's at full, he's at full, he's at full. Show me? Can I look at bot lane, please? Oh no, okay. I can see what's happened already without just on the mini map. So what's happened here is bot lane on their side are in a parallel line. Thresh walks up, but he's no longer in line with his ADC, which means that enemy bot lane creates a triangle where 2 people are bearing down on 1. Hook probably misses. Instant engage. No, he doesn't even throw the hook. What's happening in bot? How does this happen? Show me. Because I've got the funny feeling that... Oh, we're never going to see it, but... Yeah. But what I'm talking about here is, okay, these guys are parallel together. These guys should be parallel together. Probably on the other... Ah, fuck. Bang. So, always be in line with your AD carry as the support main. Always be in line and carry here. Support probably can stand here or in brush, and then keeps like going and toggling as we spoke about, and then they can just like force the engage. If at any point when you're doing this, someone walks up, so the AD carry steps here, and you create a triangle. So support stood here, AD stood here, and their AD is, or their support is not in line, you create a triangle. And if there's a triangle that is created, it's always a good engage. You'll always end up winning the trade, because their support can't react quick enough to actually like fight you again. So here, right, and now Longstaff is actually like backing off in this matchup because he doesn't want to get poked, but he's like stood behind his ADC at all times. So this is like a thing in support play where like you always, like realistically, you never want to be stood behind your AD carry at any time. You want to be stood parallel. So roughly like here or here. And you want to exert as much pressure as possible. But he's in a lane that's very difficult. Okay, King is just doing his thing. He's out jungling here, doing pathing really well. Jungle Nirvana right now, like Jungle Kingdom. He's a fucking carnivore. I don't know who wins this game. But Kindred is very quickly becoming a problem. 200 gold lead by 5 minutes, and it's probably all in jungle alone. I think bot lane on Barage's side could be a little bit further ahead, but it is what it is. Dun 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 dun. Jungle Nirvana, Jungle Nirvana. Okay, so he's got prio from bot. Thresh is already moving to mid. Herald is coming up. So what they're doing here is shifting prio. They've pushed in. They want to keep Ashe there on her own so she can still catch waves. Thresh is showing off map here. He's going to look for mid. Okay, burns the flash. Hey, what up? If they were looking for Herald, the timer is now. It's spawning in 20. Doesn't look like they are. They're looking for bot lane with the Ashe arrow. Everything misses. So, this is another thing in bot lane that we can talk about. Okay. So, this is really bad by Barage's bot lane. So, what happens throughout the entire laning phase is the same thing we spoke about that Emre was doing well, is that you want to play on their range that they can engage on and play on the range of what they engage. So you're always kind of like dancing close. So KDO wants to be about here, Ashe wants to be about here, and so they're always in a parallel line with each other, but also keeping them at the edge of their range. You're never like 4 miles away from the actual play that you want to make. So for example here, you're denying this minion, you need to be in line with each other. And what will end up happening here is the reason it fails, okay, this play is already over. This play is already bad even if the arrow hits as well. And here's why. Because the arrow is going to come here, and then guess what? Ashe is 1,000,000 miles away. And they're already so close to their turret. Okay? This is never going to work in 1,000,000 years. So here, right. When it gets to here, now Barrage Academy's bot lane, get in a parallel line and start shifting that line to the range of Envision. And what you do is you keep getting to this line and literally all I want you to do when you get to this position is for both Ashe and Thresh to just keep walking back and forwards. Like here. And when you walk backwards, what naturally people tend to do is when you see you walking backwards is they might step up again together to create their line. And then once they step back up, when you switch back to going forwards, you fully commit. Brilliant example in Resolve game. So I highly recommend going to check that out for Barrage Academy's bot lane here of what they could learn. So this is like really overforced. It's probably never going to work because the blue team are already close to the turret. They got the read because they were just looking at the way that Barrage Academy's bot lane were positioning themselves, and it kind of gives the gank away. It's very obvious. Okay, he's trying to make sure it crashes. But in the meantime, they're taking red buff. And they took Drake. So this is a nice early game for Barrage Academy so far. Like, yeah, there's small things the bot lane could specifically do. I'm not seeing much of the top lane matchup, so I can't comment. Nor with the mid lane matchup, but it seems like they're going fine. Ooh, okay. Mr. Thomas Go. So Orianna didn't have flash from the previous gank. She took a bad trade prior to this. So this is where they trade. And Mr. Thomas Go has pots to burn. And then Victor uses her E and then she gets clipped by it. And now he can't lane. He's got no flash, which was burnt earlier. And then you just see Victor go, hi, I'm here. Have this, have this, have this. Have my ult. And yeah. And this was created from the pressure from bot lane, which KDO exerted into mid. And then was punished. Just in 1v1. Ooh, bad bait. Got caught on a base. Lose your flash. Now you're off tempo. Now Xayah is here alone. But they're going to reset. So she can get away with it. Okay. Alright, they can get free mid prio here. Because they're going to be on base and they recognize Drake is coming. So let's look at the setup for Drake, right? So what Envision are going to do here is that this reset is going to try and come in for Drake. But the problem with it is that he gets caught on the reset. Which now means he's out of tempo for the Drake setup. Which means Barrage, Aragon's already recognizing it. I'm going to base, walk to mid, and realizes that mid prio is going to be the one thing that's going to be highly contested. So he can get Drake control. He's already moving. So he's ahead of Akka's already. Blue team have already tried to set up and thought ahead of this of time. So they're already moving in and trying to get some flanking wards set up. TP instantly comes in. Could have very easily been like a potential death here because Ori doesn't have flash even. So like she's just walking like this. She's kind of fucked. Victor W comes down. I'm kind of surprised that they don't actually just keep going aggro here, but I guess they just hear that Xayah has already got free move on Ashe because Ashe is behind in tempo. Boom, 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 boom. They start the objective because they have better control of the area and they're all here. Blue team comes in and steals it, but she's going to die. Xayah has ult. She's fine. And now this fight is all kinds of fucked. And this comes from the bad bases, right? So what they could do here, instead of forcing like this, is actually, I don't know. There's two things at play. So Aragon moves first, but then Envision's bot lane is here first as well. So it actually equals out, and then he just TPs here. Okay, you're accepting you're losing top waves for the Drake because you think it's more important. Okay, let's clear out all their vision. Alright, they go for mid wave, so fuck it, we'll take the Drake while they're taking the mid wave. Going for the fight, right. Kill the bitch who's just coming to the pit. But now we have a problem. Because you've got this way, and they're both coming in. What do we do? And it's going to turn into a fucking free-for-all. Like, straight up. So what they, I think, attempt to do here, if you're quick enough and know your fight conditions, and this is where you should be talking about what you do before and how much you scrim together. So when you get in a fight situation like this, okay, we need to clump up, get inside that Kindred ult. But there's a good engage from Akkas here. But now the DPS is coming out. DPS is coming out. They got the objective. We go 1 for 1, right? But you lose waves in top for it. Worth it? Yes or no? Figure it out for yourselves. Like what you think is worth more. The Drake? Because if they give up the Mountain Drake to Envision on a good reset, then there's a very real possibility they could be forced into having to fight the next one, even if they don't have good positioning on it. So it's better to take it now. But Envision are definitely just doing 1 minute resets before Drake, and they accept this before anything to always get good position on Drake like 1 minute beforehand. It's basically the golden rule where they're just doing 1 minute beforehand, let's reset together, regardless. If other teams recognize this and actually force plays at 1 minute 30 on them before they do their resets, you can probably really fuck up Envision. But, yeah. Okay, so they have the control that was left over from after the Drake, which Thresh is playing in. Iuna should just never be on this side if they've done this. He gets caught out like so. Dies. Use Herald. Herald uses wasn't perfect or nor great, but it is what it is. They use it to draw pressure, which creates the play that catches the Lilia. Now what Maus do, and what other teams are doing at the moment, right? UK teams might be doing this where like you get mid prio, okay, and even if tier 1 is available, what Maus do if they feel they're aggressive enough is they actually just walk straight into this area regardless, even if tier 1 isn't down, and they start building up. Right now, I've got a funny feeling that what they could do is hard shove this and then immediately start walking towards Ori and start influencing that Victor versus Ori matchup even more. If they're able to get mid-pro like this. This is a bad reset by Barrage Academy. So if you're going to do this, right, and you're going to reset, bang, there's the wave that you've done. This is the wave you shove in now. And they immediately reset on the way. Okay, there's not much, but I say it's a bad reset, but I think the reset should have been coming on this wave. Reason being is that you just lose less on cannon waves, so if you push out cannon wave and reset, it's better for you. And also it just gives your opponents less time to create anything. So imagine if Xayah and Alistar want to stay on map now, they could already be moving and creating something here and then coming back, and yes, they would have to fight on this, but you know, they could have created something. And now Xayah and Alistar are stuck because they're getting forced in on the cannon. Now Ashe and Thresh have reset. Actually, I take it back. I think that was a good reset by them. I would have preferred it on the cannon wave, but it's the right idea where they keep looking for it. Bum 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 bum. Okay, Ashe is getting mid-prior now. Okay, she is allowed to walk up this far because they know they've got no vision in here. As long as Thresh doesn't show on the map and give that information away, Ashe can stay on this mid-wave as much as she wants because they have to assume that Thresh is there. Now Thresh shows on bot lane, now they can contest mid-prio. I genuinely think Thresh should never show. Because with Thresh showing, what happens now is blue team just respond by taking hard mid-prio. Gragas has already moved. If bot lane falls, it's nice. Victor TP's back. He can cheat prio like this. If you have TP, you can cheat prio. Doesn't matter when you reset because you can just TP back. Okay. Iuna's going to get chunked here. Now, do you still want to contest Drake after getting chunked? He's got some pots. I think he'll be okay. But once again, here you go. Here's Envision's secret sauce. Drake's in 1 minute 20. We took a bad reset. Gave up map control now. Like, Barrage Academy actually have full control over Drake now. But they're aware of this and recognize, okay, we want to take Drake. We fully contest this as a team, as a unit. 45 seconds to go. Catch this mid-wave. Hard shove it in. Then we look to control and fight back. Just more than fair enough. Victor TP's back. Let's get a chunk here, but we've lost mid-prio. Mid-prio is king. Let's see how they contest here. See, there's a very real... They're getting pressured from all angles now. Right? Where it's like here. So they're kind of penned in. Now, if Barrage play this slow enough, they will always win. But what Envision can do is actually just fully collapse onto one side and they would win. Akers goes one way and the rest of the team goes the other. This is botched already. What needs to happen for Envision here, when they're in this pocket, is you just commit to one side entirely. Barrage is spread like really thin on the ground. Like, there's one person even clearing a ward up here while the rest of his team are trying to like punish them. I think what should happen here is that while you're seeing someone try to clear this, you just immediately go here. And you just go. Right? Aragon right here, if he doesn't react in time, could be Orianna ulted, kept in, and you can just go. But instead, there's different calls about like the engage and what's happening. He flash E's onto KDO to create an engage. So he's got in his head that he needs to engage immediately. But the thing is that it's just on a bad target and the rest of his team is not on the same page. And this is the after effect of if you choose to not all go together, the after effect is if you get a botched engage, now all of Barrage collapse from all sides. And it's a bad time. Barrage should just clean this. Yep. And there's Drake loss. There's mid loss. They should shove this mid wave and then reset. I think Aatrox might be staying a bit too much, but he's got his TP so he can cheat whenever he needs to. So I think he's fine. Oh, he doesn't have his TP. He's still pushing. Okay, he's just staying on map then. Rest of his team is resetting. You're going to be forced to stay on map, mate. Because otherwise, if you reset now, what happens is Gragas is just going to come in and get prio against you. Okay, he's choosing to reset anyway. So Gragas is going to have a free shift to mid here. And it's his turn. Gragas doesn't do anything with his shift. He doesn't feel like he can make something happen. They're conceding. Aatrox just gets a free reset then because of that. It's just like, yeah, it's not like a big problem, but if you were looking for something and where you might be able to create an advantage to slow this game down, that would be one of them. Where like you could move Gragas up to mid here, help him get mid prior, and then everyone else moves up to top lane, and then it slows the game. BB Muffin tries to pull the wave here and create a freeze now that tier 1s are down. Smart. It's a freeze on the top side of the map so he can get to Baron if needed. He's gonna cause Victor to lose waves. It means that Barrage are then forced to try and do something. So here you go, here's that. Right. Spark, no. Okay. So if nothing is happening, this is another scenario here where Spark could quite happily just like freeze the wave here. And what do Barrage do? Because Barrage are trying to set up on tier 2s, but they've got a freeze happening in mid, a freeze happening in top, if they wanted to, and there's not a lot that Barrage would be able to do. Yeah, Barrage could walk in here for free, but like Gragas is going to clear bot wave by himself. You can maintain the freeze here by yourself, and you can maintain the freeze here by yourself, and you can just have Iuna and Alistar just moving around between lanes for free. Here's another scenario, right? Tier 1 is down here. Okay, you can set a trap on this wave. They are way too far out. I think they're going to look for it. Ashol, yep. But it's just too far away. So this is the alternative, right? If a wave ever comes out this far and people step out this far without like enough numbers, you can immediately force on them. He walks away from this just fine, but that's a bit of a mistake by Spark. Spark's probably free to do it because IRR, but you won't have it again later. Okay, so they use this, they get mid-prio. Now where do you walk? You're still showing on mid-wave, still showing on mid-wave, still showing on mid-wave, still showing on mid-wave. Why are they wasting all this time? Here. Shove this wave and immediately move in here. Into the jungle. Shove, 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 shove. Move, 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 move. Get in the fucking jungle. Don't keep showing. Don't keep showing. Get in the fucking jungle. Why are they stood here like lemmings? Okay, guys. You had all of this time. From here until your next wave coming, you stand here and just keep walking back and forth. Make a call. And the call should be, if Drake is coming, now is the perfect time for us to get full control over this. Alright? You get full control in there, and then when the next mid wave is coming, then you just send Ashe to stand like here, picking up the wave, and you guys can sit in the brush down here as like 4-man. If they try and engage on Ashe, this 4-man is just going to either flash over the wall here or give him a lantern. Like, you can give lantern, you can all walk out and you're all engaged because now blue team have all forced in this direction and they're going to be stood here. Which means that they're super susceptible to dying. But don't stand there in full view of the enemy team. Like, you're just waiting for mid-prio. We know it's important, yes, but there's other things you can be doing in the meantime. Like, you've got 10-15 seconds in between that. Find something to do. Build more control. Build a better position for yourself. And even then, you stood there in the middle and still allowed blue team to force themselves all the way up here. Okay? We're still staying in view, still staying in view, still staying in view. We have Ashe Volley, we have Victor. But then Victor uses his E over here. No. What I want to happen here is that Ashe and Victor here with support, you consistently push out the wave and you only use your E in between waves when you're allowed to poke. Otherwise, they're allowed to walk up like this without taking any of the poke. Okay, and you've given them priority over the mid lane. Yeah, they keep dropping vision into you, which is really bad of them. Blue team are trying to walk at you and contest. Not going to work. In the meantime, you take the jungle. But blue team should never realistically have been allowed to walk all the way out here, even if they're walking as a 5-man. If you've done it properly. With the free time they had, where they could have done so much more. Envision make the mistake of trying to say, shit, we need to contest this. And they end up ultimately losing out. They lose in mid lane, like a lot of the HPs. That's going to go down in a second. They lose Baron. They lose the Drake as well, and it's a disaster. Disaster. So this could have been played better by Barrage and how they set up the control. And Envision, probably that was the best chance that they could do. They look in the right way, but their composition just doesn't have the direct engage aside from Alistar combo, which he's not finding a flank through this way. The only way is you need Gragas or Alistar to find a flank for a good angle, and there was none. The only way that they could do this is if like the rest of the team is here and Alistar is on this side, and then Alistar has to like sacrifice his life by flashing over the wall and going in. He needs to find a flash combo. That's the only way Envision could ever contest that Drake from the position they were in. They don't have something that can pull the trigger like that. So okay. So now we're on Baron on 2 waves. Let's just see their resets and everything. Here, Baron. Is it just a full reset together? The minimap's so small I can't tell. But I assume it's a full reset together, and now they're coming back on map. If anyone resets in the next 20 seconds, I'll cry. Nope, it's good. Barrage, make sure that wave gets pushed in. Now you look for the control, you put your vision down, like so. Now. And this is why we say to support players, do not show on the fucking wave. This is really bad positioning and bad positioning. Remember where we said that like Ashe can clear this wave for free, provided Thresh is like over here and he's just going to lantern them back into the area. If you have Aatrox already sat in the brush down here, and Aatrox starts hitting onto Orianna, and yeah, then it's all good. And then you just keep prio like this. So here's the tip basically, is that don't show with support matchup, like stay fogged, because if you give them no information, they have to assume that you are in the area, and if they assume you're in the area, it makes it doubly difficult. Same thing with like Aragon here, but he's just fucking Aatrox that's absolutely huge now, and he's going to get his full HP bar back. Yeah. You can start to see the concept is coming there from Barrage, but there's some work that is needed. On Vision side, they make the best possible engage they could find. It's just target selection, and also the fact that like they're so far behind from the previous team fights that the game has just been accelerated to the point now where they just can't kill anything. And yet still, they're able to actually walk out all the way out of their base without being engaged upon. These Ashe arrows have been a little bit wayward. Why are we so afraid? Why are we so afraid? Just push mid and push them back. Don't be afraid. Like, you have such a big gold lead, you're 10k ahead, do not be afraid at this point. They're playing as if they're even, which is incorrect. And this probably comes with dealing with pressure and psychologically, like they just need to play aggressively. If they don't play aggressively and they allow blue team to walk up and find favorable engages, then the thing that they fear will happen. So if we go back here, right, red team right now can actually push blue team all the way back into their base, but for some reason they're allowing blue team to contest waves this high up because they're afraid. Don't be afraid. Like, what are blue team gonna do? Nothing. There is nothing they can do. This is the result. But for some reason, Barrage are all split. See, Barrage is still split, still split, still split. Drowsy comes in from Lilia, like Snowball. But they're all split with their damage. Like, the engage happens, and then their damage is, like, really far away. Still scared. And then they run into Ori, ult, and whatnot. Victor, like... yeah. Just a really bad fight because I'm assuming they're just panicking, going Drake's happening. But then it's cool, calm, collected when they actually win the fight. So yeah. When you have that big of a lead, recognizing it in game and knowing how far you can push the limits of things is probably one of the big things there. They probably could have pushed it a little bit harder, like accelerated the game at that little bit more for themselves, and have that confidence in mind, like it's okay. Like, being aggressive at times is just the right call, and having that confidence in yourself. Okay. So, let's have a little looky here. Let's see what we got. So, Seraphine ban on blue. So it suggests that Eminem haven't practiced or played it yet. They banned. I don't know why Ivan is getting specifically banned in the UKLC. I haven't really seen it anywhere else. People are trying to pick it up and play it, but like to varying degrees of success. They banned Aatrox because Hatchy. Talia, these are just generic bans for red side. They give over Kai'Sa, fair enough. Surprised Casper didn't want to play a Philios Thresh here. There's a very real world where if you just see Kai'Sa locked in like this, that you can just literally take a Philios Thresh here. I'm surprised you didn't. It fits his bill where he wants to be the aggressive one that can farm. It's the perfect thing for him. So I assume he takes something else. Then we see Set Graves come out when we see the Hecarim. So this is just Graves into Hecarim matchup. We saw it earlier on. Graves is good into this, creates his own leads. Then we see Maokai locked in. So we're seeing the same thing where it's like zone control from Bulldogs. Syndra Victor, anything that can create prio from mid that could cause a problem for you. They start banning ADs that would be good into Kai'Sa. Unfortunately, there's just too many that are also good into Kai'Sa. That is not the one. So they're leaving AD... Why did they leave AD counterpick? There's no point. Like, you just take either here... By the way, the best pick you can take is probably Senna or Aphelios. Those are the two best picks. They lock in Silas. Good lane into Gragas, to be fair. Like, they have an AD jungle, so they need a little bit of AP. Oh no, they're taking mid lane, sorry. Silas into Ori. Can't answer on sides. Ori gets early prio on like before first base, and then they're good to go. I'm surprised by the Vayne pick though. There's no real tanks. Like there's bruisers that she can deal damage to that builds HP. But what you've inadvertently just done is this gets prio early, this gets prio late, but early on loses. Volley versus Gragas matchup. I assume this will get prio early and then loses out later on. And jungle matchup wise, it's like Graves just for the majority of the game. And then you've obviously got like the flip side, right, where it's you lose out early, prio late. But if you had the opportunity here as Bulldogs to inadvertently, you could have had 2 ways of early prio for Hecarim to get through this game, like here, and then loses out late if she has to go to side lane, and this I think loses prio just because Maokai would normally be able to. But yeah. So in reality, they've just given prio over to bot lane when they could have had a scaling carry and had prio from the lane. And Aphelios is a lot harder for like this team comp on left to play into, because actually look at the range of what they have. It's all extremely close range into Aphelios. Now you have extremely close range into Vayne. And Vayne is having to kind of play from behind you. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's Casper's Vayne, but I don't like it. I know he has like extreme familiarity with it, but I just, yeah, I'm not a fan. So what we'll see in the bot lane from Eminem is that Set is just going to flash at level 1, uses E, and just aggressively trade. And then at level 2, he hex flashes into you, uses E and W, and all ins you. Poke has taken Comet in this. I think he could get away with Aftershock instead because he needs to be tanky later on. He's going to basically get run over in terms of damage later on because he's taking Comet, but it's better for the lane. We see Hecarim start on top side. We're not seeing Resolve needing... Resolve don't need to do the split map because they don't have an Alistar. I think Set is kind of misplaying the matchup here. I honestly think they can win this at level 1, knowing there's no Aftershock. If they just go forwards and start a force a trade right now, and they genuinely just force this, they win. So we saw Pyro from top. Yeah, it's just Wally Bear. That's what he does. But the fact that Set hasn't like Force Flash with Kai'Sa passive in Set like level 1 suggests that he hasn't. Go watch LPL, go watch LCK of how they play the matchup at like level 1. Normally it's specific into Thresh, but you could definitely do it here. there you go. There's the flash E. Probably a bit too late, but fair enough. Actually, look at the gank here. Right. So here's parallel line 1. Here should be parallel line 2. We see another instance where a support main is stood behind their AD carry, which is incorrect. And now, because you've magically decided to walk in front of your AD carry, they should realistically already know the gank is coming, but they've already come out too far for a bit of CS. She's animation cancelled with the auto is pinned her in place. She can't move. This is where you instantly see flashy. So that's kind of well played by Regan. Let's give him his credit. And then he looks for it, and then Graves shows up. This inadvertently gives double crab over though. I feel like this gank could have come in later on when crabs are already down, so you didn't lose out like this, but it is what it is. They're breaking the lane already, but that gives information of where Hecarim is. And they're still struggling to crash it. DBL is playing this really well. They still can't crash this, even with them, and he holds his lane. Oof. Hachi is hurting. Feel like, yeah, because the opportunity was missed at level 1, Vayne and then Maokai were allowed to sap. Maokai gets saplings and brushes and then gets Prio, and then she's been like farming up a storm. I feel like Eminem maybe have been in a position where they could have abused it at level 1 before that setup comes, but it is what it is. Silas should be losing out on a bit of CS to Ori in this matchup. He's a melee versus range, so he's got to pick and choose when he does it for his HP. Now after first base though, he'll be quite happy and fine. See a crash in from bot lane here. They've been covered by the ward. Okay, both teams looking for first Drake. Eminem aren't playing for the Drake Soul condition here. They're happy to give up the first one, I assume. Because Graves is already on the other side of the map. They're not forcing it. And they know that if Bulldog force it, what will happen is they'll just trade objectives at worst. Which first Herald over this Drake might be worth more. And they'll just contest the next one. And also the other part being that if he farms this, that means Graves can take 2 camps for free. If he uses the time effectively. So here we're seeing Graves already moving on to camp. This is, yeah, and this is good for Graves. Because now Hecarim is going to... He gets his buff for his team, but he individually falls behind really far. Make sure it crashes. This is bad, though. Volley ult comes out. Okay, no, it works out. So, I keep forgetting the volley ult is there. Like, Volley Bear ult just turns off turret, and then it's free as fuck. In a 2v2 like this with no turret. If they have the turret, yeah, it goes really badly, but I feel like Hecarim goes charging in way too fast, way too far ahead in this 2v2 when Gragas isn't able to do anything because he's already used everything to survive. So now he took the camps away and he then takes Herald because of the misplay. Now Hecarim is really, really far behind in his matchup and Hachi is hurting a lot, bleeding a lot. So this is like advantage to them. Shikan couldn't have done anything in this matchup. Ori like can't do anything. And their bot lane, as I said, they have a good position for themselves. They farmed up a storm, but it's still Vayne. Like she hasn't come online yet. And here creates a problem where you've got no real way of scaling to where you want to be without being snowballed on. Because you've got like scaling. All 5 areas of this draft are scaling, and you need something, typically, to help you get through things. So that's why I was saying, if you take a more, like an Aphelios, you still get Prio, and you're still able to actually fight back, and an Aphelios, like Aphelios Thresh in this draft, Thresh is able to take and use that priority to then start helping out mid lane and start being able to create something, and you can have a more stable early game, which allows you, if you stabilize your early game, it then allows you to get to Oriana's breakpoint, to this breakpoint on Hecarim as well. So saving red side counter for your AD carry, when AD carry got shown in the first couple rotations, not the one, Chief. Change this to when you see AD carry, pick AD carry earlier. And I know you took the Gragas early, but then you might be able to get like the counter in mid. So say they take Ori here, and then in this orientation you can then take maybe like Syndra, or if they take Syndra, you could ban it yourselves and then force them into taking Ori, and then maybe you could pick up like a TF, you can pick up an Echo, you can pick up something else that like would help you get prio, and if you pick up TF in this, it's still really nice. Kassadin too. Can you imagine right now if they take Ori and you look at this comp and go, it's the freest Kassadin game of my life? If you don't play any of those, like you could force them into playing Ori, and then you might be able to take like Syndra or something else. But mid prio is probably going to do more for you in stabilizing the game than the bot lane pick. Because if you do get snowballed on, you've got no outplay, like play to get you out of this pressure situation. So you've got no pressure relief. That's what I'm looking for. Pressure relief. Uh-oh. How did that happen? Okay, so we see Set flash forwards. He tries to R. Casper then uses heal and then Qs. Okay, so it's a Q with their ult. So they lose vision of her. And they use exhaust to try and slow it down. Channeling, but it's never going to work. I don't see the support, so it's going to give it away. So this is where you need to talk about how to set up the ganks properly. With that parallel line and like always playing on the edge of the enemy's range and dodging in and out of it. Okay, they try to force through mid, but you can answer that. That's fine. Like the whole objective for Bulldog is like stall the fucking game. Stall the game. We'll get to like 1 or 2 items on Vayne, and then we just kind of team fight. As long as she doesn't die, and we have some good setup from Maokai E, we're good to go. Alright, Set looks to go in, and this is where the Vayne pick comes in smart, right? Because she can just condemn away. Maokai goes in with W, because now Kai'Sa has like committed. Have a free kill. Beautiful. Really nice from Bulldog, punishing that. For all the works here of me saying I don't like it, they're making it work, which is more than fair enough. Like if you play your way, you play what you think is good, you play around your team or what you think your strength is, fair fucking enough. Like I can't knock you for that. But losing, okay, so you make your play in bot lane here. Silas comes in. Both Gragas and Co have done this. Herald was used because I think it was was it on timer? Okay, this is really smart by their jungler.
So he knows they're going to take Drake. He sees them moving with mid prio. He knows they're set up and they're doing Drake from game knowledge.
So he uses Herald top where they're both shifting, which means Gragas never answers it. DBL sprints back up there and to get the local gold and push it in. So this is, to be fair, Eminem, their jungler, has played this game very well. I'll give it that to him. He's played this game individually with his pathing and the decision making. When they took the first Drake, I'll take all your camps, then dive top, create a massive lead for myself. Eminem's bot lane though need to learn the concept of how to create their ideal engages, but it's very difficult when you're just going to get Maokai, RE, and also Casper just like knocking you away. So it needs to be really clean on that first engage where you flash E. And if it's not clean, then you run into these kind of problems. Is it going to get a second crash? It's going to get a second crash. That's really good. This has been well played by DBL and their jungle so far. Okay. Now Silas is at that point where he can kind of get buried, but we're honestly at a position where now, with how the map is set up, that you could potentially just move Silas into a side lane now. Harry crashes this wave. Where's he going? You haven't had mid prio and you don't have your support there creating the setup already. Where are you walking? You cannot walk that way. Instantly punished by Bulldog. So props to Bulldog for noticing that mistake. So now he has to use his ult. He's kind of low. And this is the point, right? Competitive is all just about chunking people till they can't fight anymore, till they feel they need to give things up. Yeah, well played here. There's been a lot of Maokai support play here from London, and also this, like where it has been fairly good. It's just sometimes where it's like just not set up fully correctly, but so far so good. Bulldog come out on the map. You've got 2 Drake lead. You're fairly even in gold, but you've got the gold onto the right people. The people that are behind are your jungle, who's just going to ooga booga engage anyway. However, I will comment this build here is incorrect if you're going to build this. Hecarim should build... If you're going to take Conqueror specifically, you need Trinity Force. If you don't have Trinity Force, then you never have the attack speed to then actually get all your Conqueror stacks up. So if you go Sundra, you'll kind of struggle on that one. If you take Sundra, then I think you should be taking Phase Rush. So Bulldog go on reset. Eminem come back on the map because they were forced off, which means that they're just responding to this play by using the Herald. What do Bulldog do after this? What do they take? Because they should theoretically be on a bigger base than Eminem with their main carries, which means that this Drake should be going over to Bulldog. They should probably be getting mid-prio now instead of looking for this. So what's happening here is we know that mid-prio is more important. But they walk in like this, which enables Graves to just like throw a little bit of damage at them. They get their mid-prio now. But now they're in the wrong position. Like, you want Vayne and Gragas to be able to walk this way. But they're actually like stuck 2-on-2 versus Silas and Graves. And these guys are cut off from each other. So this is like a really... They try to cover the Orianna without... And then realize, oh shit. So this is like a priority order, right? Why not leave Ori here on her own? Accept it. You guys take mid-prio. And then you all walk in through like this. And then blue team are forced to walk down. And if they've pressured up here while you do that, they're then... If they try retreating, they're cut off. And you're going to catch them coming up behind. And they're stuck there. So you can never actually make that play on Orianna. If they do, they have to force forwards into the Orianna, into the tier 2. And she has flash, she has ult, plus phase rush. I think she can get away. So. Here's another example, and this comes from Hecarim play. I highly suggest going watching the Australis game, the first game of LEC from Australis versus, I can't remember who. SK. And SK, look at what the Hecarim does in chokes, right? You do not want this situation to ever occur. Okay? I want you to watch what Regan is going to do that wins this fight for Eminem. Because I can already see he's doing it. Fight's over. It's already won. the fact that Bulldog, they've just already lost. So what should happen here for Bulldog in all of this positioning, by the way? Bum, 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 bum. We get to this fight. Think about how do we engage, because we're never going to engage straight into them. And that reason is because then they're just going to back up and keep firing at our people that are engaging, and the damage, your backline never catches up. So what you need is Maokai set up in these brushes here. And then you need Hecarim to waddle off and go this way. And then, when blue team start walking in like this, Hecarim can pop out and find a favourable angle to go in. Go watch Dam 1, go watch Astralis with the Hecarim game, go watch watch up on this, of how they do their team fights. And if you're ever stuck in a situation like this, it's whoever finds the better flank wins. And the alternative is, if you know the enemy team is probably looking for a flank, you just hard engage before the flanker is in position. So, Regan here, really fucking good play. Really good play. See? And now you're fucked. Because blue team are walking in this way, he's coming from this way, and you can't... If you try walking out here, Set is just going to engage on you, and the engage is coming regardless. It doesn't matter. Good flash here. Really good fucking engage. Maokai ult is too slow. As soon as Set, you see him on this ward, Maokai ult needs to come out this way. If Maokai ult actually comes out this way earlier, and blocks off all of this area, meaning that the rest of his teammates can't come, he actually kind of ints it. But Maokai ult comes way too late. Way too late. And now blue team are allowed to walk all the way in here. So there's two things at play here, right? The flank is really good from M&M, but Maokai in that position is so fucking strong that they could have actually just turned it. And they could have just Maokai ulted into the rest of their team, turned on the flanker, killed the guy who flanks, and then turn around and say, okay, come fight us with the next slot. And the fight probably still goes in their favour. So, yep. There's two things at play. So, yeah. But I feel this jungler doesn't look comfortable on Hecarim. From his gameplay of what I'm watching and how he's farming and what he's doing, he doesn't look comfortable. He doesn't know, like, explicitly which runes to take in which best scenarios. So he needs a little bit more practice on it. No shade thrown, just a little bit more practice on it. Because in those situations where those kind of fights happen, you need to know what your role is in the fight, and Hecarim is always going to be the flanker because of his ultimate. And then the rest of your team is the zone control. Like Gragas is making sure they're standing there, making sure you can't come in. And then you have like Ori zone control, this zone control, and your only engage is this. And this guy needs to know what his role is. So if you play this comp again, look at how do you create the flank? How do we create our ideal situation? Okay, they're walking through all of our control, walking through all of our zone and poke. They've taken a shitload of damage. Now we want to pull the trigger. Well, shit, we can't. Like, yeah. So now they're doing the right thing on M&M's side where they... Okay, mid-prio. Let's move up here. Mid-prio again, but they show on the wards. So this is a little bit slow. Yeah, this is a slowdown from M&M. M&M could have definitely sped up the game here once they get all these like things up. So, slow back. Here's after the pause. This is them coming out of base after Drake, and this is where M&M can speed up the game. Is that Kai'Sa is magically somehow majorly out of tempo with the rest of the team. So I get the funny feeling she stays for way too long. And this is the last bit of a review. Where the fuck is the... Holy shit, that was a long break. Kai'Sa stays way too long. Yeah, Kai'Sa stays way too long. The rest of her team is already out on base. She should have based like 10 seconds, 15 seconds ago, so that she's actually out here to collect this mid wave if no one else is. If not, Silas should be grabbing it now instead of doing Raptors. Someone should be on this mid wave, crashing it in. If you crash this mid wave, then you all move up this way and get into like position on top turret way faster. And inadvertently, they've slowed down their tempo really like a lot in this game. So if anyone wants to know the difference level of play, there's concepts, but there's also just the tempo at which you play, how quickly, making sure you're always on tempo, and then applying pressure so that you catch every single wave possible and make something happen on it. Okay, so then they look for top control, but it's a little bit slow, and now Bulldog are back in position and on the map again. And it causes a problem, so they go back into 1-3-1. Boom, 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 boom. Now Vayne is against Kai'Sa, and Vayne will always get pryos, chill. Bum, 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 bang out that. Can't break mid. And now we're just sending mid waves in, and Eminem aren't actually achieving anything or accelerating the game. We're in a lull until the next Drake. And that partly comes from bad resets by Eminem, which doesn't allow them to keep the pressure up. And then Bulldog are kind of like, oh, we've got some breathing room. Because they've had breathing room, they've got mid prio, and now they're just setting up for Drake again. When in reality, there was a very real situation where Eminem could have been consistently pushing mid waves in, taking top turret, taking the tier 2, push that all the way into base, and then gate from that very top wave, like pin someone in. Like if they're in a 1-3-1, the best scenario here is you get mid prio, you push in, and then you allow this laner to push all the way in. And then once they've done that, once they've pushed all the way in, that laner then comes to mid and dives with you. I see best example is G2's game against XL in the 1-3-1. Go watch that of how Akali is allowed to push to tier 2s and how they use mid prio into then getting control of an area to then allow Akali and Aurelia to push on tier 2s to speed up the game. Okay, here we go. So this is actually a really well played fight by Bulldog, by the way. Bum, 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 bum. Fighting over control. They realise, shit, Maokai's already got position. We can't walk through all these brushes. Switch sides. So Sylas is now looking for the flank as Eminem. They've got the smart play, right? Shit, we need to find the flank from behind so we can get in. But this time, the difference is Sylas shows, and now you've got this angle and this angle you've got to cover. Hachi goes in and says, get the fuck away, zone control. Not ideal, but the Maokai ult comes out a lot sooner. There's your difference. Maokai ult showing that, at that point, Maokai ult being used nice and early when the objective's taken, they have to choose if they're going to walk through it and contest the Drake, or they just give it up. So you go. Looks for the big play, but not on the same page because people are already moving away. This play could have been cleaner if we got through it. Casper is probably going to clean up, right? Could have been cleaner, but yeah, fair play. And now you're in a 3 Drake situation against Eminem. We see the replay. A Bulldog already reset. I think they have. Hachi doesn't matter. He's got TP, so he can never be late. That's fine. You're still behind in gold, but like you're in a position where you're just going to fight anyway. It doesn't matter. Now we have Ori contesting these waves. Vayne goes to side. So you got mid prio here now. This would be the time where Vayne should be catching the wave when they had mid prio. It's a little bit slow, a little bit sloppy. And now Vayne should have already actually... So, here. You get mid-prio together. And then you immediately A-bomb it straight to top lane together. And then if you do that and immediately go for it and don't fuck around with like a vision here, and you push this wave out, then once you push that, Vayne can be moving back to mid, and then you're already in position to defend Ori here. But because you fuck around with vision, and there's different priorities, she's going to get fucked. Good attempt. Doesn't quite pay off. Volley comes in. Hecarim goes down. This is where it turns into a team fight. I assume Maokai ult is gone. He's used his W, but now he's not a tank, so he goes in, he flashes out. Wait, does Hecarim ults? Hecarim ult just misses. Yeah. Not the cleanest Hecarim play we've seen, but it's okay because they've overextended, and now Vayne's just going to go in and clean up. And this is Baron for Bulldog. Full reset, please. Okay, we're back out on the map after a reset. Get mid-prio. Mid-prio, 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 mid-prio. Don't give a shit about top. Don't give a shit about top. Vayne, where are you going? This is a mistake by Casper. You should not be doing fucking Raptors. Like, you've given up mid-wave again. Alright. Here. When Shiklin pushes this mid-wave, that starts the play. Alright? Everybody and their mother should be protecting this mid-wave getting pushed in. Right? Everyone and their mother right now, you see Silas here, you see Volibear here, and you have more numbers here. Go shove this bitch under tier 2. Push this bitch under tier 2 right now. And then come in and sweep and take all of this off them, this area here in the jungle. Instead, we're only getting shallow vision when we can be really pushing it, like push them under that fucking tier 2. Do not let them move. But other people are still fucking around. Well, there's another mid wave which we should then be playing on. Like this mid wave here, we drop it. Why? Why are we losing mid prio when we have the full advantage here? Like, who gives a shit about top lane? Why do we have Baron buff if you're Bulldog here? And why do we have Baron buff and we're the team getting pushed in? This doesn't make sense. We gave up map control for no reason. Like, look at how strong we can be. Yeah, there's Drake Soul, but like, blue team should never be allowed to walk all the way up here and just do what they do. Ever. This Baron buff has been a null point. They got it, but it didn't do anything until now. It's been a really slow. Like, they could have been on tier 2 mid and tier 2 bot simultaneously and created full control of the map. Okay, the flank. Eminem have consistently looked for flanks like this. Consistently. This is the time when you see Maokai ready. And then we just CC him before he can do anything. Maokai ult comes out, causes all kinds of problems. Casper's untouched in the fight. Game over. Alright, this could have been cleaner in terms of when they got ahead. I feel like Bulldog weren't fully pushing in with the leads they felt that they did have, but they probably didn't feel like that at the time. But it's being able to recognize when it happens. When you have a tempo advantage, if you have tempo advantage, you're always ahead of getting to here first. If you're getting to here first, this area becomes really safe to do so. I think they were worried about the double TP from behind, but as we have just seen, what you can do is if that does happen, you just push all the way in like so, and then you just Maokai ult one side, and you turn on the other side. So if they double TP on you, and for example, the fight was happening in mid, say it's here, this is your position on Bulldog. Red line 1 is where Kai'Sa, Set, and Graves are, and here comes red line from the flank from like Volley and Silas. Maokai ult in this direction with the long line, so they can't join, and then turn onto this side here with the other second circle. And there's nothing that M&M can do. Their composition is stuck. But you pick up the win. Fair play. Went to Drake Soul, went to team fights. Your team fighting composition was better. Only thing I would check on is the Hecarim gameplay of what your position or job is in the composition, and then also looking at how you create the control and consistently keep it up in a single area of the map. And that well played. You got a win. So Pog. And Eminem, they were finding and looking for these opportunities. They're looking in the right way, to be honest with you. Like, that first or second Drake fight where he comes in with the set flank, so good. But then you have a 1-3-1 comp with a Silas, in a way that isn't, when you have map control, needs to pin the enemy laners under their turret and make them lose something in return. Very often you just accepted the team fights were going to happen. You tried to get better control, but it's not going to work. If you're going to 1-3-1 like that, you need to put pressure at like 1 minute 30-ish. And at 1 minute 30, then you can actually have them under turret and they're not allowed to move. And I think you're going to see here like the same thing from Jamada. Yeah, he's doing some fancy lines, right? And then the flank comes in like so, and he gives you all the nice things. So yeah. Alright guys, I'm going to end it here, and then I will see you next time. I don't want to do all the games because otherwise it will be disingenuous and we'll probably get like low quality. So thanks to anyone that did tune in, and I wish you all the best.